My chosen one, something is shifting around you right now, and you can feel it, even if you cannot explain it. There is a quiet tension in the air, like the moment just before a storm breaks or just before a miracle arrives. This is not your imagination. This is not coincidence. This is the very moment Archangel Michael has been preparing you for, and it is happening faster than you think. Tonight is not an ordinary night. August 14th carries a weight in the spiritual realm that most people will never notice, but you were meant to notice it. You were chosen to hear this message because something that once ended in your life, something you mourned, something you released with tears, something you convinced yourself would never return, is now beginning to move again. Quietly, gently, almost like a whisper through a door you thought was permanently sealed. But here is the shocking truth: that door was never truly closed. You believed it was over. You told yourself the opportunity had passed. Maybe it was a relationship that broke your heart. Maybe it was a dream that collapsed when everything seemed against you. Maybe it was a path you once walked with passion, only to watch it disappear without explanation. You stood there, staring at that closed door, wondering why it happened, wondering why God allowed it, wondering if you had somehow failed. And slowly, you walked away. But what you did not see, what you could not see, was that Archangel Michael was standing guard at that very door the entire time. Not to keep you out, but to protect what was on the other side. There were things you were not ready for yet. There were battles you were not meant to fight at that time. There were hidden forces being rearranged in your favor, piece by piece, moment by moment, even when it felt like nothing was happening. And now something has changed. Listen closely, because this is where everything begins to turn. The energy around that door is no longer still. It is no longer silent. There is movement. There is a presence. There is a divine permission being released that was not there before. And if you pay attention, you might even feel it in your spirit right now. A subtle pull, a quiet nudge, a strange sense that something unfinished is calling your name again. This is the moment that separates those who stay stuck from those who step into destiny. Because when a door you buried in your past begins to open again, it does not come with loud announcements. It does not come with certainty. It comes with a question, a test, a sacred invitation that only the brave will recognize. And right now, that invitation is being placed directly in your hands. Are you ready to face what you once walked away from? Are you ready to see it differently this time? Because this is not about going backward. This is not about repeating old pain. This is about stepping into a version of that door that has been transformed, aligned, and prepared specifically for who you have become today. Archangel Michael is not just opening something, he is calling you forward. And what you choose in this moment will change everything. There was a moment in your life when you stood in front of that door with hope burning inside you. You remember it clearly, even if you try not to think about it. You knocked with faith. You waited with expectation. You believed with your whole heart that what was on the other side belonged to you. It felt right. It felt aligned. It felt like something heaven itself had whispered into your soul. But then silence. No answer. No movement. No sign that anything was shifting in your favor. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into something heavier. Now, you began to question everything. Was it really meant for you? Did you misunderstand the signs? Did you get ahead of yourself? The door, which once felt so alive with promise, became cold and distant, and eventually it closed. Not with a loud slam, but with a quiet finality that hurt even more, because you were left without explanation, and no clear reason. No clue. Just a deep ache and a lingering question that followed you into your nights, and haunted your quiet moments. Why did this happen to me? You tried to move on. You told yourself it was for the best. You convinced your heart to let go, even when it resisted. You buried the dream, the connection, the opportunity, telling yourself that some things are simply not meant to be. And on the surface, it looked like you accepted it. To others, you seemed strong. You seemed like you had healed. But deep inside, a part of you never truly closed that door, because something about it stayed with you. A memory, a feeling, a what if that refused to disappear. And that is not a weakness. That is not you being unable to move on. That is something much deeper, something spiritual. Because when a door is truly not meant for you, it fades completely. But when it lingers, when it echoes in your spirit long after it's gone, it is often because it was never meant to end the way it did. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this truth clearly. Not every closed door is a rejection. Some doors are paused by divine hands. You see, while you were walking away, believing it was over, there were things happening behind that door that you could not have handled at the time. There were energies being shifted, people being moved, circumstances being rewritten. What felt like abandonment was actually protection. What felt like delay was actually preparation. If that door had opened when you first wanted it to, it could have broken you. It could have led you into a situation where you were not strong enough, not ready enough, not aligned enough to receive what was truly waiting for you beyond it. And so, Archangel Michael stepped in, not to deny you, but to guard your path. He saw what you could not see. He understood what you did not understand. And while you felt forgotten, you were actually being refined. Think about who you were back then. Think about how you saw things, how you reacted, how you handled disappointment, how you understood your own worth. Compare that version of you to who you are now. There has been growth. There has been change. There has been a strengthening of your spirit that only came through the very pain you were trying to escape. The door did not just close, it waited for you to become someone new. And now, as it begins to open again, it is not opening for the person you used to be. It is opening for the person you have become. That is why this moment feels different. That is why something inside you is stirring again, even if you are trying to ignore it. You are not being led back into the past. You are being invited into a restored future. And the question is no longer why it closed. The real question is whether you are ready to face it again, with new eyes, a stronger heart, and a deeper trust in the guidance of Archangel Michael. There is something you were never told about that moment when everything seemed to fall apart. Something deeper than disappointment, something more intentional than random loss. Because what you experienced was not just a closed door, it was a divine interruption. And the truth you are about to hear may shift the way you see your past forever. You thought it closed because you were not good enough. You thought it ended because something went wrong. But what if it closed because something dangerous was approaching, something hidden that you could not see at the time? What if that silence you felt was actually protection speaking in a language you did not yet understand? Archangel Michael was not absent in that moment. He was present in a way that was invisible to your human understanding. While you stood there feeling rejected, he was standing between you and something that could have wounded you far more deeply than the pain of walking away. Sometimes what feels like loss is actually a shield. Sometimes what feels like abandonment is actually divine intervention. There were layers behind that door that were not aligned with your spirit at the time. Energies, intentions, were even people that carried confusion, instability, or harm. You may have been emotionally ready, but spiritually, something was still out of place. And if that door had opened fully, it would not have given you what you were hoping for. It would have taken something from you instead. So the door closed. Not to punish you, not to deny you, but to preserve you. And this is where many people misunderstand their journey. They assume that every closed door is a failure, when in reality, some of the most painful closures are the greatest acts of divine mercy. You were not being pushed away from your destiny, you were being pulled back from something that was not yet worthy of your presence. There were also parts of you that needed to be reshaped, not because you were lacking, but because you were evolving. There were patterns that needed to break. There were wounds that needed to heal. There were truths about yourself that you had not yet discovered. And if you had walked through that door too early, you would have carried those unfinished parts into a place that required strength, clarity, and deep self-awareness. Archangel Michael saw the version of you that would emerge after the storm, and he made the decision to wait for that version. Think about it now. The person you were back then would have reacted differently. You might have tolerated things you no longer accept. You might have stayed silent in moments where today you would speak your truth. You might have settled for less than what your spirit now recognizes as your worth. So the door did not just close because of what was on the other side, it closed because of who you were becoming. There is a sacred alignment that had to take place within you and around you. Timing had to shift. Paths had to cross differently. Pieces had to move into position in a way that only divine orchestration could accomplish. And while you were feeling stuck, life was actually rearranging itself with precision you could not comprehend. This is why the reopening feels so different now. Because the conditions are no longer the same. You are not the same. The energy surrounding that door is not the same. What once held confusion now holds clarity. What once felt uncertain now carries a quiet sense of purpose. And yet, there is one more truth you must face. Just because the door is opening again does not mean it will look exactly the same. It may lead to something familiar, but transform. It may reconnect you to something you thought was lost, but in a way that feels completely new. Or it may simply represent a second chance, not to repeat the past, but to write it with wisdom you did not have before. This is the mystery of divine timing. Archangel Michael does not restore things in their broken form. He refines them. He purifies them. He aligns them with who you are now, not who you were then. And that means the reopening of this door is not about returning to what was, it is about stepping into what was always meant to be. So do not look at that closed chapter with regret anymore. Look at it with understanding. Because every delay, every silence, every moment you thought you were forgotten was actually part of a protection plan that has now reached its completion. And tonight, as that door begins to move again, you are not stepping into uncertainty, you are stepping into something that has been carefully prepared for you. Type "I receive the mystery" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 739 has just been released. And as this truth settles into your heart, understand this: when a door like this begins to open again, it is not just for you. It is part of a greater mission to awaken others who are still standing in front of their own closed doors, believing the story is over. If you feel this message igniting something within you, this is your moment to act. Say it within yourself: I am part of this calling, and I choose to help this light reach others. As it is written, give, and it will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is not just support. It is a seed sown into lives that are waiting for hope. When you release your offering through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description or QR code, you are opening spiritual pathways for someone else's breakthrough. Heaven sees it. Heaven multiplies it. Step into this moment with boldness and become a vessel through which this message continues to flow. Listen carefully, because what is happening tonight is not something you can see with your physical eyes, yet it is already touching your life in ways you may not fully understand. There is a shift, quiet, powerful, and deeply intentional, moving through the spiritual realm, and it is aligning directly with your path. August 14th is not just a date. It is a doorway in time itself, and you are standing right at its edge. You may have noticed it already, a strange feeling you cannot explain. Maybe your thoughts have been drifting back to something you thought you had buried. Maybe you have felt a sudden restlessness, like something inside you is waking up after a long silence. Or perhaps there has been a subtle sense of anticipation, as if something is about to happen, even though nothing around you seems to have changed. This is the shift. It does not arrive with noise. It does not force its way into your life. It comes quietly, like a soft wind moving through a still room. But do not mistake its gentleness for weakness. What is happening right now carries the weight of divine timing. It has been set into motion long before this moment, and now it is unfolding exactly as it was meant to. Archangel Michael is present in this shift, moving with precision and authority. His energy is not chaotic. It is ordered, protective, and purposeful. Where there was once stagnation, there is now movement. Where there was once confusion, there is now clarity beginning to form. And where there was once a closed door, there is now the sound of something slowly, almost imperceptibly, beginning to open. But here is what makes this moment so powerful and so challenging. The opening is not dramatic. There is no sudden breakthrough, no loud confirmation, no undeniable sign that forces you to act. Instead, it is subtle. It is delicate. It requires your awareness. Because this is not just about the door opening. It is about whether you are spiritually awake enough to notice it. Many people miss moments like this. They are waiting for something obvious, something undeniable, something that removes all doubt. But divine timing rarely works that way. It invites, it nudges, it whispers. And those who are too distracted, too fearful, or too disconnected from their inner voice, they let the moment pass without even realizing what they have lost. You are not meant to be one of those people. Right now, there is an invitation forming in your life. It may come through a thought, a message, an unexpected opportunity, or even a simple feeling that refuses to go away. It may not look like much at first. In fact, it might look so small that you are tempted to ignore it. But do not underestimate it. Because this is how doors begin to open. Not with force, but with alignment. Not with certainty, but with trust. And as this shift continues to unfold, you may feel two opposing forces rising within you. One part of you will feel drawn forward, curious, even hopeful. But another part will resist. It will remind you of the pain you experienced before. It will tell you to be careful, to stay where it is safe, to avoid taking another risk. This inner tension is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is real. Whenever a true opportunity begins to emerge, especially one connected to your deeper purpose, there will always be resistance. Not because you are weak, but because you are stepping beyond the boundaries of your past. You are being invited into something unfamiliar, and your mind is trying to protect you from what it does not yet understand. But Archangel Michael is asking you to see beyond that fear. He is asking you to recognize that this moment is not the same as before. The conditions have changed. The energy has shifted. What once held you back no longer has the same power over you. And what once seemed impossible is now being gently placed within your reach. This is the beginning of something sacred. The door is not fully open yet, but it is no longer closed. and the way you respond to this subtle movement will determine what happens next. There is something important you need to understand about the way divine messages reach you. They are rarely loud. They do not force your attention. They do not demand that you listen. Instead, they arrive quietly, gently, almost like a passing thought that you can easily ignore if you are not paying attention. And that is exactly why so many people miss them. Think back over the past few days, maybe even the past few weeks. There have been moments, small, always forgettable moments, where something stirred inside you. A sudden thought about that door. A memory that came out of nowhere. A feeling that something was not completely finished. You may have brushed it off, telling yourself it was just your mind wandering, just your emotions playing tricks on you. But it was not random. It was a whisper. Archangel Michael does not always speak through dramatic signs or overwhelming experiences. Sometimes, his guidance comes as a quiet nudge, a gentle pull in your spirit that does not make logical sense at first. It might come through a dream that lingers in your mind long after you wake up. It might come through repeated patterns, seeing the same kind of message, hearing the same idea from different sources, feeling drawn to something you thought you had left behind. These are not coincidences. These are signals. But here is the challenge. You have been trained by life to trust what is loud, what is obvious, what is undeniable. You have learned to rely on proof, on clarity, on things that make sense immediately. And because of that, you sometimes overlook the very messages that are meant specifically for you. The whisper is easy to dismiss. It does not argue with you. It does not try to convince you. It simply presents itself and waits. And in that waiting, you are given a choice. You can ignore it, just as you may have done before. You can tell yourself it is not important, that it does not mean anything, that it is safer to stay where you are. Or you can pause. You can listen. You can allow yourself to feel what is beneath that quiet message and consider that maybe, just maybe, it is leading you somewhere meaningful. Right now, the whisper is growing stronger, not louder but clear. There is something within you that recognizes it. Even if your mind is unsure, your spirit is responding. That is why you feel this pull again. That is why this message is reaching you now. Because the whisper you once ignored is returning, and this time, it carries a deeper urgency. Archangel Michael is not forcing you to act. He is inviting you to become aware. He is asking you to slow down enough to notice what is happening within you. To pay attention to the subtle shifts in your thoughts, your emotions, your intuition. Because this is how the reopening of that door begins. Not with a command, but with a realization. A realization that something is not over. A realization that what you thought was finished is still connected to your path. A realization that you are being guided even if you do not fully understand where it will lead. And yet, there is a part of you that hesitates. You remember how it felt before. You remember the disappointment, the confusion, the unanswered questions. And so when this whisper returns, your first instinct is to protect yourself, to keep your distance, to avoid getting your hopes up again. That reaction is natural. But it is also the very thing that can cause you to miss what is being offered to you now. Because this whisper is not asking you to jump blindly. It is not asking you to relive the past. It is simply asking you to listen, to acknowledge, to remain open to the possibility that something has changed. And something has changed. The difference between then and now is not just time. It is alignment. The whisper you are hearing now is coming from a place that has been prepared. It is not leading you back into the same situation. It is leading you toward a renewed version of it, one that carries the lessons you have learned and the strength you have gained. But you will not see that if you keep ignoring the signal. This is the moment where awareness becomes everything. Because once you truly hear the whisper, once you recognize it for what it is, you can no longer pretend that nothing is happening. You will know. And when you know, you will have to decide what to do with that knowing. Right at this moment, as the door begins to open and the whisper becomes clearer, something else rises within you, something heavy, something familiar, something that feels like a shadow standing between you and what is ahead. And shadow is fear. It does not come loudly. It does not announce itself as something dangerous. Instead, it speaks in a calm, reasonable voice and tells you to be careful. It reminds you of what happened before. It brings back memories you thought you had already moved past. And slowly, it begins to build a case inside your mind, convincing you that stepping forward might not be worth the risk. This is the moment where many people turn back. Not because the door is not real, but because fear makes it feel safer to stay where they are. Even if where they are is not fulfilling. Even if where they are is not aligned with their purpose. Fear has a way of making the familiar feel comfortable, even when it is holding you back. But you must understand this clearly. Fear often appears strongest when you are closest to something meaningful. What you are feeling right now is not a sign that you should stop. It is a sign that you are standing at a threshold. A threshold between your past and your future. A threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. And at every threshold, there is a test. The test is not about whether the opportunity is real. The test is about whether you trust yourself enough to move forward despite the uncertainty. Because the truth is, you may never feel completely ready. You may never have all the answers. You may never receive a perfect confirmation that removes every doubt. And yet the door is opening anyway. Fear will try to make you analyze every detail. It will tell you to wait a little longer, to gather more information, to make sure everything is absolutely certain before you take a step. But if you listen too closely, you will realize that fear never reaches a point of satisfaction. There will always be another reason to hesitate, another possibility to worry about, another scenario to avoid. That is how opportunities slip away. Not because they were taken from you, but because fear convinced you not to take them. Archangel Michael stands with you in this moment, not to remove fear entirely, but to give you the strength to move through it. His presence is not about making the path easy. It is about making you stronger than what stands in your way. He is reminding you that you are not the same person who stood in front of that door before. You have grown. You have learned. You have endured things that once felt impossible. And because of that, you are more prepared than you realize. Fear is trying to show you the past. But Archangel Michael is guiding you toward the future. There is a difference. The past says, remember how it hurt. The future whispers, look at who you have become. And right now, you are standing between those two voices. You may feel your heart beating faster when you think about stepping forward. You may feel a tightness in your chest, a hesitation in your thoughts, a resistance that makes you want to pause. That is not weakness. That is the weight of a real decision forming within you. Because stepping through this door means change. It means leaving behind the version of you that accepted closed endings without understanding why. It means trusting something you cannot fully see yet. It means allowing yourself to hope again, even when hope feels risky. And that is what makes this moment so powerful. Because hope, when it returns after disappointment, is not the same as before. It is stronger. It is wiser. It is rooted in experience, not just emotion. And that kind of hope is not easily broken. Fear wants you to believe that you are protecting yourself by staying still. But in reality, you are only delaying what is meant to unfold. Archangel Michael is not asking you to be fearless. He is asking you to be courageous. Courage does not mean the absence of fear. It means choosing to move forward even when fear is present. It means recognizing that the possibility of something meaningful is greater than the memory of what once hurt you. And right now, you are being given that choice. You can stand at the threshold, listening to fear, analyzing every possibility, and watching the moment pass where you can take a breath. Trust the guidance that has brought you this far, and allow yourself to step closer to that door, knowing that whatever awaits you, you are no longer the same person who once walked away. There is a question that has been quietly forming in your mind as you stand at this threshold, a question that you may not have fully spoken, but you have definitely felt. And that question is this: what is actually waiting for me on the other side of this door? It is a natural question. It is human to want clarity, to want certainty, to want a clear picture of what lies ahead before you take a step forward. You want to know if it will be worth it. You want to know if it will bring peace or pain, joy or disappointment, fulfillment or regret. But here is the truth that Archangel Michael wants you to understand: what lies beyond this door is not meant to be fully revealed before you walk through it. Because if you could see everything clearly, there would be no need for faith. And this moment, this exact moment you are standing in, is not just about opportunity. It is about trust. Still, there are things you can sense about what is waiting for you. Not in exact details, not in fixed outcomes, but in the energy that surrounds it. And if you allow yourself to feel deeply, you will notice something different about this reopening. It does not carry the same confusion it once did. It does not feel chaotic or unstable. Instead, there is a quiet sense of alignment, like pieces that were once scattered are now coming together in a way that feels more grounded, more balanced, more real. What lies beyond the door is not perfection. It is alignment. It is not a path free of challenges. It is a path that leads to growth with purpose. And most importantly, it is something that reflects who you have become, not who you used to be. This is why the door is opening now and not before. Because what is waiting for you requires the version of you that exists today. It requires your strength, your awareness, your ability to recognize what is right for you and what is not. It requires your willingness to walk away from what does not serve you and your courage to step into what does. Before, you may have entered that door with expectations that were based on hope alone. And now, you are stepping toward it with experience, with understanding, with a deeper connection to your own intuition. And that changes everything. What lies beyond this door may include restoration, something that was broken being rebuilt in a stronger, more honest way. It may include opportunity, something that once slipped away returning in a form that is more stable and aligned. Or it may include transformation, an entirely new direction that is connected to your past, but not limited by it. But no matter what form it takes, there is one thing that remains certain. You will not be the same after you walk through it. Because stepping through this door is not just about what you gain, it is about what you release. You release the fear that once held you back. You release the doubt that made you question your worth. You release the version of yourself that believed closed doors were the end of your story. And in doing so, you step into something greater than what you originally imagined. Archangel Michael is guiding you not toward repetition, but toward elevation. This is not a cycle repeating itself. This is a cycle completing itself. And that is why there is a sense of both familiarity and mystery surrounding this moment. You recognize the door, but you do not fully recognize what it has become. You feel connected to it, but you also sense that it holds something new. something you have not yet experienced. That is the beauty of divine restoration. It does not simply return what was lost. It rebuilds it with greater purpose. So as you stand here, looking at what is beginning to open, do not try to force a clear image of what lies ahead. Do not limit it by your past experiences or your previous expectations. Allow it to unfold. Allow yourself to step forward with curiosity, with openness, with a willingness to discover what has been prepared for you. Because what lies beyond this door is not just an answer to your past, it is an invitation to your future. And the moment you choose to walk through it, everything you once questioned will begin to make sense in a way you could never have imagined before. Right now, without you even realizing it, you are being tested. Not in a way that is meant to confuse you or overwhelm you, but in a way that reveals something important, something honest, about where you truly stand within yourself. Because the reopening of this door is not just an opportunity, it is a moment of truth. You may believe you are ready. You may feel that you have grown, that you have learned from the past, that you are stronger than before. And in many ways, that is true. But readiness is not proven by what you say, it is revealed by how you respond when the moment actually arrives. And this is that moment. The test is simple, but it is not easy. Will you trust what is being opened before you, or will you allow the weight of your past to keep you from stepping forward? This is where everything becomes real. Because it is one thing to talk about healing, growth, and faith when nothing is being asked of you. But it is something entirely different when you are standing in front of a real decision, a real opportunity, a real shift that requires you to act. That is when your true state is revealed. Archangel Michael is not questioning your worth. He is not testing you to see if you are good enough. That has already been established. What he is revealing is whether you are willing to align your actions with the growth you have already experienced. In other words, are you living what you have learned? There are signs that show when someone is truly ready. A person who is ready does not need everything to be perfect before they move. They understand that clarity often comes after the first step, not before it. They are willing to face uncertainty, not because they enjoy it, but because they trust that they will be guided through it. A person who is ready does not let fear make their decisions. They acknowledge it, they feel it, but they do not allow it to control them. They move forward with awareness, not avoidance. And most importantly, a person who is ready does not look at the door as it was, they see it as it is now. That is where many people fail this test. They approach the reopening with old expectations, old fears, old assumptions. They have stepped the same of him, the same pain, the same disappointment. And because of that, they react as if nothing has changed even when everything has. But you are not meant to do that. You are being called to see differently, to understand that this moment is not a repetition, it is a transformation. And the way you respond to it will determine whether you experience it as a blessing or miss it as an opportunity. You may feel hesitation. You may feel unsure. That is part of the process. But beneath that hesitation, there is something else, a quiet knowing, a subtle confidence that has been growing within you over time. That is what you must listen to. Because readiness is not about being free from doubt. It is about being anchored in something deeper than doubt. And that deeper place is where Archangel Michael is guiding you. He is not asking you to rush. He is not asking you to force anything. But he is asking you to be honest with yourself. To look at this moment and ask, am I willing to step into what I have been prepared for? Because if you are, then everything begins to align. Doors that seemed uncertain begin to open more clearly. Paths that felt confusing begin to make sense. And the very thing you once feared begins to reveal itself as something that was meant to elevate you all along. But if you hesitate too long, if you allow fear to take control, if you convince yourself that it is safer to stay where you are, then the moment will not wait forever. Divine opportunities are patient, but they are not permanent. They arrive, they open, they invite, and then they move. This is why this moment matters so much. Because it is not just about what is being offered to you, it is about who you choose to be when it is placed in front of you. Are you the person who steps forward or the one who steps back? Are you the one who trusts or the one who retreats? That answer is not found in your words. It is found in your next move. Type "I am ready" in the comments if you feel this awakening within you. Blessing code 8842 is now activated. And as this sacred moment unfolds, understand this truth deeply. When you step forward in alignment with divine timing, you are not only opening a door for yourself, you are unlocking pathways for countless others who are waiting for a sign to believe again. Say it within your spirit. I am a vessel for this light, and I will help it reach those who need it. As the word declares, those who sow in faith shall reap in abundance, and this is your moment to sow into something eternal. When you release your support through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description or QR code, you are not giving. You are activating a river that carries hope into hearts across the world. Heaven records it. Heaven multiplies it. Step into this calling boldly and become part of the movement that is awakening souls right now. There is something about this moment that may surprise you, something that challenges the way you have been thinking about this entire situation. You may believe that stepping through this door requires a grand decision, a perfect plan, or a complete transformation before you even begin. You may feel like you need to have everything figured out before you move. But that is not the truth. The truth is much simpler and much more powerful. Everything begins with one step. Not 10 steps. Not a perfectly mapped out journey. Just one. And yet, that one step is often the hardest to take, because it is the step that breaks the cycle. It is the step that moves you out of hesitation and into motion. It is the step that shifts you from thinking about possibilities to actually engaging with them. And most importantly, it is the step that tells the universe, I am ready to participate in what is being opened for me. You see, divine alignment does not require perfection, it requires participation. Archangel Michael is not waiting for you to have all the answers. He is not waiting for you to feel completely confident or fearless. He is waiting for you to respond, to show, through action, that you are willing to move forward even when the full picture is not yet clear. That is where the transformation begins. Because the moment you take that first step, something shifts, not just around you, but within you. The uncertainty that once felt overwhelming begins to loosen its grip. The fear that once felt heavy begins to fade into the background. And in its place, a new energy begins to rise, an energy of movement, of progress, of quiet confidence. This is how doors truly open. Not all at once, but step by step. You may not walk through the entire doorway immediately. You may not see everything that lies beyond it in one instant. But with each small action, each moment of trust, each decision to move forward instead of staying still, the path becomes clearer. And here is something you must remember. The first step does not have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as responding to a message you have been ignoring. It can be reaching out, exploring an idea, allowing yourself to consider a possibility that you once dismissed. It can be a shift in your mindset, a decision to no longer see the situation through the lens of past pain, but through the lens of present growth. Small actions, powerful impact. Because what matters is not the size of the step, it is the direction. Are you moving toward the door or away from it? That is the only question that matters right now. Many people wait for a sign that they are ready. They wait for a feeling that tells them everything will be okay. But readiness is not something you wait for. It is something you create through action. The moment you step forward, you begin to align yourself with the very thing you have been waiting for. And as you do, something remarkable happens. Support begins to appear. Opportunities begin to connect. Situations that once seemed uncertain begin to shift in your favor. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because you have activated the flow that was waiting for your participation. This is why hesitation can be so limiting. Because while you are standing still, waiting for clarity, the path remains quiet. It remains unopened. It remains in a state of potential. But the moment you move, the moment you take that step, the path responds. It begins to reveal itself. Archangel Michael is guiding you to understand that you are not alone in this movement. When you step forward, you are not stepping into emptiness. You are stepping into a space that has already been prepared, already been aligned, already been held in place for the exact moment you choose to move. Nothing more must come from you. No one else can take that step for you. No one else can make that decision. It is yours. And it does not require perfection. It requires willingness. So right now, in this very moment, ask yourself honestly, what is the one step you have been avoiding? What is the one action you know you could take, but have been holding back from? That is your starting point. That is your doorway. And the moment you choose to take that step, no matter how small it may seem, you will feel it. A shift. A release. A movement that confirms what your spirit hath been trying to tell you all along. You were never meant to stay where you are. You were meant to move forward. And everything begins with that one step. There is something you need to recognize right now. Something that is not always obvious, but plays a powerful role in moments like this. Whenever a door begins to open in your life, especially one connected to your growth, your purpose, or your restoration, there is always an opposing force that rises at the same time. This force does not look like an enemy. It does not announce itself as something harmful. Instead, it disguises itself as logic, caution, and even wisdom. But in reality it is doubt. Doubt is the quiet enemy of this moment. It does not shout at you. It whispers. It plants questions in your mind that seem reasonable at first. What if this goes wrong again? What if nothing has really changed? What if you are misreading the signs? And slowly, those questions begin to multiply, creating a fog that makes it harder for you to see clearly. This is how doubt works. It does not need to stop you completely. It only needs to delay you. Because delay, when stretched long enough, becomes missed opportunity. And missed opportunity often feels like something that was taken from you when in truth, it was something you were talked out of. This is why this moment requires awareness. Because not every thought that enters your mind is aligned with your path. Not every feeling that arises is meant to guide you forward. Some are simply echoes of your past experiences, replaying themselves in an attempt to keep you within familiar boundaries. You have been here before. You have felt uncertainty before, and your mind remembers that. So when something new begins to emerge, especially something connected to a past experience, your mind tries to protect you by preparing you for the worst. It tries to analyze every possibility, predict every outcome, and avoid every potential risk. But in doing so, it can also block every possibility. This is where Archangel Michael's presence becomes essential. Because his role in this moment is not just to guide you toward the door, but to shield you from the internal and external forces that try to pull you away from it. He stands as a protector, not only of your path, but of your clarity. He helps you distinguish between what is truth and what is fear disguised as truth. The voice of doubt will always sound convincing. It will use your past as evidence. It will use your emotions as leverage. It will even use your desire to be careful as a reason to stay still. But there is a difference between wisdom and hesitation. Wisdom observes, understands, and then moves forward with awareness. Hesitation observes, overthinks, and then remains stuck in place. You must learn to recognize which one is guiding you. Because if you allow doubt to take control, you will find yourself questioning everything: your instincts, your growth, your readiness, even the very guidance that has brought you to this moment. And that is exactly what this opposing force wants. It wants you to forget how far you have come. It wants you to disconnect from the inner knowing that has been quietly guiding you. It wants you to believe that you are still the same person who once walked away from that closed door, even though you are not. You are different now. And because you are different, your response can also be different. This is the moment where you choose what voice you will follow. Will you follow the voice that reminds you of your past pain, or will you follow the voice that points toward your future growth? Will you listen to the doubts that keep you safe but stagnant, or will you listen to the guidance that leads you forward, even if it requires courage? Archangel Michael is not removing the presence of doubt. He is giving you the strength to see through it, to recognize it for what it is, a temporary barrier, not a permanent truth. Because the truth is this: if this door was not meant for you, it would not be opening again. If this moment was not aligned with your path, you would not feel this pull within you. And if you were not ready, you would not be standing here, faced with this decision. Doubt will try to make you forget all of that. But you must remember, you must stay grounded in what you know, not what you fear. Because the greatest enemy of this moment is not failure. It is hesitation driven by doubt. And the moment you choose to move beyond that doubt, you reclaim your power. You reclaim your direction. And you step closer to the very thing that has been waiting for you all along. There comes a moment in every transformation where everything narrows down to a single, quiet decision. Not a loud announcement, not a dramatic declaration. Just a simple, powerful shift that happens within you the moment you say yes. This is that moment. You have felt the pull. You have seen the signs. You have stood at the threshold, facing your fears, questioning your doubts, and slowly recognizing that something real is unfolding in front of you. You have been guided, protected, and prepared for this exact point in time. And now it comes down to your answer. Yes is not just a word. It is an alignment. It is the point where your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions begin to move in the same direction. It is the moment where you stop resisting what is being offered to you and begin to receive it. It is the shift from hesitation into trust. When you say yes, something immediate happens within you. The confusion begins to clear. The weight of indecision begins to lift. And in its place, there is a sense of movement, a quiet but undeniable feeling that you are stepping into something that was meant for you. This does not mean that every question disappears. It does not mean that every detail suddenly becomes clear. But it does mean that you have chosen your direction, and that choice changes everything. Because the moment you say yes, you activate something beyond yourself. You step into alignment with divine timing. You allow the guidance that has been surrounding you to move freely in your life. You open yourself to the support, the connections, and the opportunities that were waiting for your decision. This is why saying yes is so powerful. It is not about controlling the outcome. It is about unlocking the path. Archangel Michael has been standing with you through every step of this journey, not forcing, not pushing, but guiding. And now, as you reach this moment, his presence becomes even more focused. Not because he needs you to choose a certain way, but because he knows the power of your choice. He knows that once you say yes, you are no longer standing still. You are moving. You are aligning. You are stepping into the next phase of your life. And that is something that cannot be undone. There may still be a voice within you that hesitates. A small part that asks, what if this is not the right decision? But listen closely, that voice is not stronger than your knowing. Because beneath that question, there is something deeper, something steady, something calm, something that has been growing within you throughout this entire journey. That is your truth. And your truth is not asking for guarantees. It is asking for trust. The moment you say yes is not about having everything figured out. It is about believing that you will figure it out as you move forward. It is about trusting that you are not stepping into this alone. It is about understanding that the same force that brought you to this moment will continue to guide you beyond it. And when you truly accept that, when you allow that understanding to settle into your spirit, saying yes becomes less about courage and more about alignment. Because you begin to realize that you are not forcing anything. You are simply agreeing with what has already been set into motion. This is why the decision feels so significant. Because it is not just about this door. It is about who you are choosing to be. Are you the version of yourself who stays in the past, defined by what once happened? Or are you the version who steps forward, defined by what is possible now? That is the real choice in front of you. And the moment you say yes, you answer that question. You declare, without needing to speak it out loud, that you are ready to move forward, that you are ready to trust, that you are ready to receive what has been prepared for you. And as soon as that decision is made, something shifts, not just within you but around you. Because the path responds to your yes. The door responds to your yes. And everything that has been waiting on the other side begins to align with your decision. This is the power of this moment. This is the power of your choice. And this is the beginning of everything changing. My beloved soul, this is where everything becomes still. Not silent in emptiness, but quiet in peace. Because after all the questions, all the waiting, all the fear, all the wondering, you have finally arrived at the moment where the door is no longer just opening, it is open. And now, there is no pressure. There is no rush. There is only a gentle invitation. Step forward. You may notice something surprising as you stand here now. The fear that once felt overwhelming is no longer as strong. The confusion that once clouded your thoughts has softened. The weight of the past, which once held you back, no longer has the same grip on your spirit. Why? Because you have already changed. You have already grown into the person who can walk through this door. This is what Archangel Michael has been preparing you for all along, not just the opportunity, but the transformation within you that allows you to receive it with clarity, strength, and peace. And now, as you take this step, you are not stepping into chaos. You are stepping into alignment. Feel that for a moment. There is no need to force anything. No need to control every outcome. No need to predict every detail. The path ahead does not require perfection. It only asks for your presence. Each step you take will reveal the next. Each moment you trust will bring deeper understanding. And each time you choose to move forward, you will feel a quiet reassurance that you are exactly where you are meant to be. This is not the same door you once stood in front of. It may look familiar, it may carry echoes of what was, but what lies beyond it has been renewed, restored, and realigned with who you are now. And so have you. This is why there is peace here. Because this moment is not about chasing something uncertain. It is about accepting something that has been prepared. Archangel Michael walks beside you, not ahead pulling you, not behind pushing you, but beside you, protecting you, guiding you, reminding you that you are not alone in this journey. You are supported. You are seen. You are safe to move forward. So as you step through this door, let go of the need to look back. Let go of the questions that once held you in place. Let go of the old story that told you it was over. Because it was never over. It was only waiting for the right moment and the right version of you. And that moment is now. Take a breath. Feel the calm. Feel the certainty that does not need to shout to be real. And walk forward. Not with fear but with quiet trust. Not with doubt but with inner knowing. Not as the person who once stood outside the door but as the person who was always meant to walk through it. Type "I walk in faith" in the comments if you are stepping into this new beginning. Blessing code 5519 is now released over your path. And as you cross this threshold, hear this clearly. This moment is not just about your own journey. It is about the light that will now flow through you into the lives of others who are still standing outside their own doors, unsure and waiting. Say it within your spirit. I am chosen to help open doors for others. The Lord declares, whoever sows generously will also reap generously, and this is your sacred moment to sow into a mission that awakens hearts across the world. When you release your offering through Super Thanks or through the PayPal link in the description or QR code, you are not giving to a channel. You are igniting a river of faith that reaches souls in their darkest hour. Heaven sees your seed. Heaven breathes upon it. Step into this act boldly and release your support now, knowing that what you give in faith will return to you multiplied in ways you cannot yet imagine.